Hello everybody and welcome back to the second iteration of Serial Scouting. So we are attacking the Premier League as stated in episode 1, and we run through the first 5 teams in this list. If you guys haven't seen that episode, I suggest you go back and watch it if you are a fan of any of the clubs or you're interested in perhaps looking at similar sort of attack to the video as this one is in episode 2. So for those of you guys that didn't watch episode 1, pretty much what we're doing is we're having a look at the best player, in my opinion, of the club, the best under 23 asset, and a one to watch who isn't necessarily a youngster, could be a slightly older lad who just hasn't sort of lived up to the potential. But yeah, without any further ado, let's crack on with the video. So we are starting today's video off with Chelsea. Now, there's no other man really who you're picking other than Cole Palmer for the best current player. The stats don't really lie. I'll zoom into them here, guys. 7 goals from that sort of attacking midfielder role is just a joke. Obviously on all of the penalties, but yeah, he's just a great playmaker. And yeah, obviously had recently, obviously went to the Euros with England, didn't really feature, but feel like he's now sort of breaking his way into that England setup, and currently, yeah, no real debate there. I think he's definitely Chelsea's best asset at this current moment of time. And yeah, looking at their under 23s, I think a lot of people will probably be surprised that Enzo is actually still under 23, but great little player. But obviously, the only unfortunate thing that happened to him at the start of the season is obviously he had that controversial video with Argentina, where yeah, it sort of kicked up a bit of a storm, and sort of exiled him a little bit from the squad. But he started to work his way back into the team, and you can see with some of the scores here from this picture, he's definitely 100 capable, and captain level. So yeah, definitely I think their best asset. But I will say Chelsea's squad is massive. They've got a lot of good under 23 players, and yeah, you could probably pick a few for like high potential players in Chelsea. I just think Enzo is probably their best asset at the moment. And then the one to watch, here's an interesting one. So we have got Philippe Jorgensen as my one to watch. So for those of you guys that don't know who Jorgensen is, he was a goalkeeper at Villarreal last season. You can see played 22 games, 7 match rating, done very well, and then was linked to a move to Chelsea. And I actually thought he was going to be starting ahead of Robert Sanchez, because those of you guys that don't know, yeah, Sanchez isn't the best goalkeeper in my opinion, so I was thinking that was kind of a no-brainer. But it actually turns out he's number 2 to Sanchez, which is interesting, which is why I've put him on the one to watch, because in my opinion, he is better than Sanchez. So I don't think it should take too long for Maresca to work that out. And we could potentially see, even at some point in this season, the swap between the two goalkeepers, or maybe it will happen at the end of the season. Maybe they've given Sanchez, a bit of a bit of time to sort of prove himself. But yeah, so Philippe Jorgensen is my one to watch. Under 23 keeper still, which is great. And he just looks like a really good goalkeeper. So yeah, that is my one to watch. So moving on to the next team, we have got Crystal Palace. Now, got a great quote here for their best player. Has to be Eberechi Eze. Form is temporary, but class is permanent. That is the quote we've gone with for Eberechi Eze. And I just think he's not... Like, the vibe I get is he should have left last transfer window. Now, he had a relegation release clause... Sorry, a release clause, not a relegation. He had a release clause of, I believe, 50 million on his last contract, but so surprised that nobody triggered it. Obviously, he made a couple of appearances off the bench for England, and he just looked like just a bit of magic, a bit of playmakery, great on the ball, confident, things like that. And yeah, it's just not clicking for him this season. And honestly, I really feel like he just needs that move, personally, or he needs some sort of like a manager to come in and sort of build his or like, because imagine from his perspective, it must be quite frustrating being at Palace and then seeing them let like Elise go, but then he's has to stay, if that makes sense, when he's probably wanting to like win Premier Leagues and things like that. So yeah, interesting one with Eze. I will say he's still their best player regardless of his form. That's why I put the quote there. But yeah, I just think maybe a move's on the cards for him. Who knows? Let me know if you're a Palace fan. What are you thinking about Eze? You probably love him and don't want him to leave. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Then we've got best current under 23 Mark Gahey. Again, another player linked with a move away from the club. But I mean, this season, 2 goals, 2 clean sheets, a real danger from corners, just a great presence, and obviously he's been in the England side as well. That will be just do levels for his confidence. He's been given the captain's armband this season, so yeah, Mark Gahey this season is definitely on the up, and I think he's a great player. I know a few people don't really like him because he's quite what's the right word, but accident prone, I guess, but he's still young, and I think he's going to be a great defender, especially with the experience he's got already at this age. Playing for a team like playing centre back for England at the age of 23, like you know, you got to think when he gets to 26, 27, he's going to be like prime. You know what I mean? He's going to be great. So yeah, we'll be interested to see how his career develops. It could U-turn, but as of right now, he looks like the best under 23 at the club for me. And then the one to watch for me would be Mr. Rak-Sakyi. Now, the only reason I have heard this name or knew this guy was because I am a Cambridge United fan, and I watched him. He was a Charlton player a couple of seasons back now, I think 2 seasons ago, and he just tore us apart, and I was thinking, wow, this guy has got something. And then I learned he was a Palace player on loan, and I was like, wow, Palace have a great player there. And yeah, they keep loaning him out, which is fair enough. He's currently at Sheffield United, and he's just doing the business, man. Like you can see here, a couple of goals recently, goal and assist, and when he hits, he really does hit. Look at this, 98, 90. Obviously naturally a couple of 40s and things in there, but if you've got a player like this in your gallery, and you captain him just and hope he hits that big number, who knows? Yeah, definitely. Some. The only bad thing for him at the minute is that he keeps getting subbed off quite a lot, or he's like not 100% in the team, which is a bit of a weird one because he's performing well. So yeah, anyway, we'll see how his season goes. Obviously, got 4 goals, 2 Team of the Week appearances, which is brilliant for him. And yeah, I just think he's one to watch from the Palace side. Although they have got quite a good like little squad, so I do expect them to sort of, kick on, and sort of do a bit better in the Premier League this season. But yeah, moving on to Fulham then. We have Alex Iwobi as the current best player. Now, that's an interesting one because at the start of the season, I definitely would have said. I mean, I do like Iwobi. I just wouldn't have expected to say he's the best player currently, and that's purely because look at this. This is just obviously an example, but his all around just seems to be so good for a winger. And obviously, if he gets that decisive on top of it, boom, that's an 80. You know what I mean? So, great little player. He's just fantastic. He looks like a proper workhorse as well. Obviously, only 28. It's not too bad of an age, like sort of in them prime years. So Fulham have got a really good player in there in Alex Iwobi, and I'm sure they already know that. And yeah, for me, the best current under 23 has to be Smith Rowe at the club. Highest potential for sure. And yeah, you're just trying to get him to be this sort of, when he broke into the Arsenal sort of setup, or people were talking about him at a young age and the potential he had there. You're just trying to reiterate that form, and I feel like Smith Rowe is a perfect example of these players that are playing at like the high end clubs, but like not just like they're just not getting that enough game time or consistent game time to really like show what they're about. So I like that Smith Rowe's gone here to Fulham, who you would consider a lesser club than Arsenal, and he's gone to find consistent football. And I like that for him. I think he can definitely blossom, and I'd say he's definitely the best asset at the club right now. And then one to watch here. Here is a very young Joshua King. in the academies of Fulham. If you don't know about him, he's in the England setup, and yeah, I just think he's had a good start to the season, considering he plays in centre mid. 4 appearances, 2 goals, and an assist. And yeah, currently an international under 19s for England, being obviously 17. And I just feel like he's one of them players that has the potential to be very, very good. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on Joshua King and how he develops. Still got obviously a couple of years probably before he sort of breaks into any team, but yeah, he's definitely one to think about for the future. And exciting when I was sort of looking through Fulham's academies and youth setup and things like that. I think he's the one that sort of sticked out the most to me. There's a couple in there, but for me, Joshua King looks like the man. Looks like the guy that could be the next sort of the next star that comes out of their academy. So next on the list then, the penultimate one for this video, we have got Ipswich, newly promoted side, and their best player is gotta be Leif Davis for me. At the moment anyway, you can see off the bat 3 seasons in a row in them sevens. A lot of people might or were probably thinking he can do it in the Championship, but can he do it in the Prem? He's looked brilliant so far. You can see from these sort of form charts. Really doing the business against some of these like mid-tier / low Premier League teams. Obviously yet to really turn it on against the likes of like Spurs here, but yeah, I mean done well against Villa, obviously a top side. So yeah, really young sort of left wing back, and he's just really good at that new sort of generation of left wing back where you're being taught to be a left winger and a left back in the same breath, and he's just very good at doing that, getting up and down the field and supporting the team in attack and defence. But yeah, moving on to the under 23. So the best current under 23 has to be Liam Delap for me. Now, he's already getting comparisons to Harry Kane. He's been sort of scouted as the next person to success from Harry Kane in the England side, and yeah, you just can't not include a player like that. He is a perfect example, same as Smith Rowe, where he was at a club, Man City, who are high in the league. He's obviously seen Haaland and people like that ahead of him in the squad, and he's probably thinking, no way I'm getting game time against Haaland right now anyway, so let me go to Ipswich, bag a couple of goals. He's got 6 already, and he's looked fantastic for Ipswich, and he's just one of them players that just you can see the confidence and sort of that next generation of talent coming through. And yeah, definitely Harry Kane-esque in the sense that he's got that sort of build. He can finish as well as Kane can, and obviously Kane's sort of not been performing too well for England recently. So yeah, Liam Delap might get his might get his nose in that sort of squad in the future maybe. But yeah, let's see what happens with that. Obviously, Kane, don't get me wrong, like he's killing it for Bayern, and I'm not saying he's done by any means, but maybe in 3-4 years, we could have a different topic of conversation for Liam Delap here, if he carries on with this sort of magnitude of performances anyway. And then the one to watch for me has to be Sammie Szmodics. Now, obviously, most of these ones to watch as of now have been quite young. Szmodics on the slightly older side of things, obviously 28, 29 sort of region for him. But yeah, just based on look what he done for Blackburn here in the Championship, just bagging loads of goals, and even these 12 appearances for Ipswich, some of them have been off the bench obviously, and he still scored 3, obviously one of them being against Man City as well. Like, yeah, he looks like a proper good little player, and it's sort of sitting in the hole again, sort of that Rodgers or Pedro, João Pedro sort of position in behind, sort of supporting the attackers. And I think Ipswich are still yet to get the best out of him. But yeah, definitely a player that can light it up and just score from that midfield position. As you can see, sort of with these numbers at Blackburn. So yeah, Sammie Szmodics for me, I feel like he's one of them people we haven't seen the best out of yet. Obviously, you've probably heard of him, you know him, but he's one of them that I feel like has so much more potential to go. So let's see if Ipswich can unlock that. And last but not least for the video today, we have got Leicester. So their best current player for me, unfortunately, is Fatawu, who I believe he's picked up a really bad injury, which is very unfortunate for Leicester, because it could mean the end of their Premier League sort of status, if they don't sort of start to turn it around. But you can see this is his championship form, what he can do in the championship. Like, they are crazy numbers. Obviously, Premier League is a different ball game, but you can see here he's been performing really well to a high level, and hopefully he can somehow get fit again for Leicester, because I think they really do need a player like that. Looking at their best current under 23 player for me has to be their goalkeeper. Their goalkeeper, obviously, I think sometimes when you're at a lower end team or lower end club, the goalkeepers can look a lot better than they are because of the amount of shots they face and things like that. But for me, I think Hermansson is he's the real deal, man. And obviously he's quite young, and he's got a lot of learning to do. But I think he can make that Denmark. He could probably make that Denmark #1 goalkeeper spot his own in a couple of years for sure. And potentially, when he's reaching his 20, sort of late 20s, early 30s, he could find himself in a really good position. As long as he carries on playing the way he is and gets the right moves and things like that. But yeah, I think Hermansson is a very good player, and they need to keep him for sure. You can sort of see his stats here if I sort of zoom in a bit more. Yeah, looks like a very decent keeper, especially with the amount of shots that he faces for sure. So yeah, Hermansson doing the business. And then last but not least, we have got Victor Christiansen. Now, for those of you guys that follow my under 23's Road to Glory, you guys will know that we picked up a Christiansen, and he has not been performing that well this season, as you can see, which is something I did want to talk about. The difference between his move in Bologna and Leicester is quite substantial. And yeah, I think obviously plays for Denmark, so he has to be. You can't say he's a bad player. Playing for your national team at the age of 21 is a great achievement. Now, the reason why I put Thiago Motta here is because obviously Leicester have just sacked their manager. As of recording this, they sacked him a couple of days ago. And I think maybe that could be potentially the reason why Christiansen has performed not that well. Maybe the system hasn't suited him, or he didn't agree with certain tactics that Steve Cooper was trying to employ. And obviously Thiago Motta's got the best out of him here with a great season at Bologna. So yeah, pretty much the reason why I put him in the one to watch is because I think he's a player that, if you can get them sevens out of him, because Serie A, it's not like he's going from Championship to Premier League. Serie A is still at a good level. So I think if Leicester, whoever they bring in next, as of recording this, I don't know who they're bringing in, but if they can bring the best out of Christiansen, I believe he can be one of the better left backs in the league for sure. Although we are yet to see it, so he is my one to watch for the last team in this video. So yeah, with that being said, that is the end of the video, or this one anyway, this episode. If you guys want to see some other clubs, just check out all the other episodes. I'm going to be releasing these or every Tuesday. So yeah, make sure you keep up to date with the with the videos. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you're new. And I'll catch you guys in a future video. Peace.